Once again, we're doing another live on YouTube, and I'm excited. We're going to have Tommy Fox from Fishhead Farms. I'm going to just add him right now. The nice thing about Fishhead is Tommy is a really cool guy, first and foremost. He's done over 100 skydives, adrenaline junkie. I got to hang out with him in Whistler, British Columbia over a weekend. And, incredible guy. He came from retail hydroponics, which I can totally respect because that really gives us the best roots. So, yeah, a few things. He was a caregiver in Rhode Island. Rhode Island being one of the states that was medical in 2008. So, yeah, he was a caregiver for cultivation. He was growing for a friend of his named Kyle who had muscular dystrophy. I always like the big whys of why you're in this industry and what brought you to this industry. So cultivating cannabis for a friend of his in 2008 and ultimately 2008 in the US makes you a serious veteran. You've been around this space a very long time. Like I said, came from retail hydroponics. He's one of the owners of Fish It. You've got Joe, Benny, and Tommy. I mean, it really does sound like a couple boys from Rhode Island, eh? Because, you know, you got Joey, Benny, and Tommy, and we're going to go get some baseball bats and we're going to do some business over here. So they're these type of guys from Rhode Island. So you guys are going to get to see him, and we're going to get to talk a whole bunch about Fishhead Farms, why the industry, what's next. Also, their product is used for other purposes, other agricultural, especially golf courses. They're finding that golf courses have a great effect with fish shit, and they're limiting the amount of fertilizer needed. What fish shit is, you know, it's pretty evident. It's literally fish shit. Hey, there he is. Tommy.
My twin.
Here
Wait, hold up. Ready? Wait, here we go. I got one for you. Let's see. Who does it better?
All right, there you go. We got our fish hat. Fish hats on.
Yeah, buddy. How's it going, pal?
I'm really good. It's good to see you.
Good.
Welcome.
Good to be seen. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you. You guys going live with us today. Thanks a bunch.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I gave a little bit of a background on who you are, what you do, why you're in the industry. What got you into it originally?
Originally was a buddy of mine. How I got into cultivating was one of my best buddies had Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, and at the time, obviously, we had done everything through the black market, right? So, you know, I would, you know, get, you know, decent weed, and I would turn it into butter for him because the way the butter helped with the cramping. So, if any of you guys out there know what Duchenne's muscular dystrophy is, it's a wasting disease of the muscles, and your hands cramp. So he was confined to a wheelchair. And we found pretty quickly that the butter or ingesting it was a lot more effective than smoking. He lost the ability to actually exhale towards the end, and the butter worked wonders, right? If you've ever witnessed the medicinal properties with somebody with muscular dystrophy, it's just, I mean, that he could have been a poster child for why medical marijuana should be, you know, widely accepted, and the stigma needed to go away long before it did. So, you know, I got to witness firsthand the actual medicinal effects on this guy. So, you know, when Rhode Island said that they were going to allow us to cultivate, I said, I'm in, right? I was one of the very original licenses for medicinal marijuana growing in Rhode Island, and it bit me. You know, at the time I was in IT sales, and I was like, wow, I'm in. Like, it grabbed me and it didn't let go. You know, that turned into you know, my original room that I put up. You know, it got me so good. I started helping others put up rooms anywhere from 4 to 40 lights, which was huge back in the day around here, right? All HPS, Miami ballast, right? We're not talking this stuff now. And I got very well acquainted with all of the hydroponic shop owners in Southern New England. I had a great rapport with all of them. At the time, I was a house and garden guy. You know, I was a GH guy, then a house and garden guy, and I would go in and I would go and say, "All right, listen, this is the system we're using. This is the system we're using. This is the, you know, we're going to do it in Rockwool. We're going to be blah blah blah, whatever. And they're going to come see you." And the shop owners loved me. You know, we had a great thing. They would give me free product in lieu of a payment. I'd get 10% in free product of whatever I was using, and I'd go on my merry way. And I would deliver them, you know, these folks that would go get their licenses, they would come to me. I'd help them put up their rooms, and lo and behold, I built these fantastic relationships. And when it was time to go to market, with my product, fish shit, I had these great relationships, and you guys know how the industry is. I went in here. It's free. Here's some samples. Give them out. If people like it, they're going to come back and buy it, and then you can pay me. And that kind of just took on a life of its own. You know, I was working full time, cashing, you know, my commission checks to buy bottles and labels. And,
Yeah,
you know, we started this thing in my basement, in the first floor of my house, in my business partner's garage, right? This super cliche, but that's how it started.
I love it.
Kind of, yeah, yeah. It bit me, man. It got me. I know, just like it bit you, right?
Yeah. I
um,
mean, who would have thought I'd be got some guy talking on Instagram about cannabis? You
right?
know, the plant makes you do what the plant makes you
Yeah.
do. So years later, we're still doing the same shit, but
No,
today
no
we get
pun
to talk about
intended.
fish. One of the questions we're going to ask, the first person that answers it is going to win a sample of a liter of fish shit in the U.S. and a liter of fish shit in the States. So we're going to ship 1 liter to both people. What type of fish is it that's used in fish shit? That's the question. So just DM me the answer or throw it up on here. And that's the first thing we're going to do. But I also really want to make a point here. We're going to be doing more and more giveaways. We're putting a lot of energy into this. And I really hope that you share. Like we'll do a post the week before, and then we'll promote it. All I ask is, honestly, we really, really enjoy doing this, and we want this to become something we're all really proud of. And if you're enjoying it, please share it on your platform so we can make this thing bigger and better and better every single day. That's my spiel for the start. You know, I had a funny story. I was fortunate enough to go to Whistler with Benny and yourself, and I believe Karen, Benny's wife. We all went to Whistler and had a really good time. We ended up going into a sub-zero ice cave, drinking vodka, and we had a really, really fun time. And you know, a few drinks in, you and Benny take off to the bathroom. I pursue because I had to go to the bathroom. And you might remember this because I thought it was one of the funniest.
I tell the story myself. It's a great story. So I'll let you continue.
Yeah. So there's Benny taking a pee with beside Benny. I'm waiting for a urinal. And you look over to Benny and you say, "Hey, I really like that guy."
It was good. Little did I know he was standing directly behind
it.
me.
It was
So,
hilarious, right?
Bag,
And then, you know, to the left of you, as you're taking a pee, I'm like, "I like you too, Benny." And it was one of those moments. It was pretty funny. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was really good.
So,
You know, that was the start of a really good friendship, and I'm glad we still got it going now. We love the hospitality. Looking forward to getting back up there with you guys and you know, doing some skiing, not snowboarding.
how neat is it to jump into it? How neat is it to have a product that it works really well for cannabis? What type of mode of action? What are people going to have when they use fish shit? What are they trying to achieve?
All right. So first off, let's just get it right out. So fish shit is not a nutrient, right? There's a big people confuse us with an emulsion or a cold press or a hydrolysate. We are not that. We are a beneficial bacteria or beneficial microbe. Inside our bottle, there's over 4,000 unique species of different microbe. And what does that mean for you as a grower, right? That plant is throughout its life cycle is going to need, you know, you've got your micro and macro nutrients that the plant is going to call for all throughout the life cycle. So whether that's NPK, calcium, whatever it needs when it needs it, it's very specific. The plant knows what it needs to survive and do it well. So those bacteria are going to have a synergistic relationship with that plant. They're going to get on the root zone. The plant is going to sense that bacteria is there and knows what it can do from, you know, a functional standpoint, whether that's early on delivering nitrogen to help with vigorous vegetative growth. Let's just say nitrogen is a limiting factor. We're chock full of nitrogen fixers, so it's actually going to pull out atmospheric nitrogen and deliver that to the plant in the case where obviously we're giving our plants the nutrients they need, but in nature, right, a lot of times these plants need nitrogen and there's none present. The plant, our bacteria actually fix it out of the atmosphere and deliver it to the plant. Early on, people don't realize how important phosphorus is in the beginning to help with root growth, and then later on to pack on weight and size. So whether it's nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium, the plant is going to be calling for them all in different ratios at different times. My bacteria or the microbes in there are the can opener. They're the Swiss Army knife, right? A lot of times those nutrients are not available. Like take phosphorus, for instance, right? It may be there, but it's not in a usable form. My product is going to break it down and make it usable for the plant. So,
Yeah.
nutrient availability or bioavailability. If the plant is photosynthesizing properly and doing all the things that plant needs to do with ease throughout its life cycle, well, then it's going to pack on more weight at the end. It's going to be oilier, terpier, and stinkier, and it's going to do it in an organic manner. We are 100% organic. Armory listed, CDFA, CFIA. We check all of the boxes. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to work in synthetic environments just as well. So whether you're a synthetic grower, an organic grower, a synthetic grower, we're going to thrive in all of those environments. Those bacteria don't differentiate. They don't know if it's synthetic or an organic input. It just knows to break it down and to give it to the plant. We have another certification where USDA bio preferred, which means the making of our product is at least 73% carbon-based renewable. We are actually, in fact, 95% carbon-based renewable. So not only is the product itself organic, but the process by which we make it is very lean and very green. We are I guess, pat myself on the back because this was by design. We're an environmental success story. Not only are we helping people grow better cannabis, but we're doing it in a manner that is renewable and has very little impact on the environment. And that's translated very nicely over to crop production in the U.S. One of our biggest, markets now is corn and soy in the U.S. and Canada. So that's huge for us at the moment.
Anytime you're limiting the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium you're putting in, and all the other elements into the environment, and you're making those elements work more efficiently, you're doing something that's more environmentally friendly.
100%. And that was by design out of the gate. We knew what we had, and we knew that, in the process look, it wasn't always the cheapest option, right? It's not always the most glitzy and glamorous, but, having started early on, implementing greener practices for us was, it's one of the things that we get to hang our hat, right? It's one of our, one of the pride points in this company, how clean we actually are, not only for the environment, but also, the process we make it. So just for food for thought, right? We have you spoke about golf courses earlier. We're not allowed to, in the States, near waterways, to use specific amounts of NPK at specific times in the season because they get into the watershed areas, they follow the rivers down, and ultimately they wind up in the Gulf. And that isn't just here, that's all over the world. And what we're causing is these eutrophic zones where you have, these fish kills, where you have these massive algae blooms due to over amounts of nutrients in the water, creating algae, suck out the oxygen, boom, now you've got dead fish. And that's just a tailspin, right? That is just a cascading effect that's bad all the way up and down the food chain. So in the area, I was talking earlier about the nitrogen fixers. Take Florida, for instance, right? They're not allowed to use nitrogen for a lot of the growing season, whether that's on lawns and their crop growing, specialty or row. But what they can do is they can use a product like mine. With the nitrogen fixers that I was speaking to, pulling the atmospheric nitrogen out, they go in there and the plant says, man, nitrogen's a limiting factor. What do we do? Well, let's just pull it out of the environment because that's what we've been doing naturally. That's what plants do. So now the bacteria is there. Boom. Now the plant, whether that's grass, corn, any number of specialty or row crops, they now have the ability to get something that they wouldn't ordinarily be able to put in per the government, and for good reason. So that's one of the things that we're really grabbing onto here is all of the nitrogen fixers being used all around the country, whether it's corn, cabbage, cannabis, or cantaloupes. We're helping it grow better.
Amazing. And I know this to be true because, I've seen the product work firsthand. As a co-founder of a business, if I have a product that I'm going to sell, I have to see it work.
Yes.
I actually this test garden is to test products to go, no, that's bullshit, or that worked. That's having retail store experience like you do
Mhm.
really helps you hone the bullshit meter of what does work and what doesn't work. And then being a cultivator yourself puts it to the test,
I
right?
was battle hardened. It was like that, like you back to that retail experience, right? Like knowing that, and especially in the early days, there was a new product coming into the door every single day,
Yeah,
sometimes two or three, and they were the next best thing since sliced bread.
yeah,
And my answer was, this is what I said: everybody gets a shot. Educate me, because if you can educate me, I can
yeah.
then try it, and then I can go to the consumer, and you're going to give me some samples, and we're going to test it in my small circle. And then we're going to come back, and if you can educate me on your product and it works in my grow, then we got a home run here. I will push the heck out of it. And then you got to educate my employees, because those are the guys that are on the ground floor. They're the ones that you got to win over. You
100%.
got to win over. And then and the sample game, right? At the height of cannabis, if you look at that 80 mil sample behind you, we were giving out 12,000 samples a month. That's what we had to do to
Wow,
win over the market. 12,000 of those little bottles. Think about it.
that's
How
crazy.
many different shows were there that we had to go to? Hydroponic shops popping up every single day. And the
Yeah,
only way that people are going to try it is if they got it free. And we knew that if we gave it to you, you were going to see a result, right? Like golf courses, for instance. Now we're taking the same exact style that we used when we went to cannabis. By, hey, you try it, don't take my word for it, I'm going to tell you how great my product is, you try it. So we go to golf course superintendents, we say, here's a 5 liter that's going to do about 13 acres. That's enough to do all your greens and all your fairways. We know you're not going to do it on nearly that, but we know that there's an R&D part of your cost that you're willing to try the next best thing. Green up is in 48 to 72 hours. We get a call back, I'll take a jug, right? Same exact concept as in cannabis. Here it is. Don't take my word for it. Use it. Call me back when you want it.
yeah,
So, and we're kicking ass and taking names in golf right now.
yeah. So 2008, you're a caregiver.
Yep.
You test the product. You notice it works, and then it goes to the R&D facility and you start tweaking. Is that ultimately what
No,
happened?
timelines are a little off. Yeah, that's the flow, right? So, I started cultivating in 2008, a little in seven. I started putting the room up in seven, maybe a little before then. But in eight, I fired up my first medicinal grow. We didn't launch this product until my buddy passed away in 14. So the product, all that time I was on the cultivation side. 14 when he passed away, that's when we came to the collaboration. I actually was helping. I was consulting on he had a greenhouse grow, and at the time green crack was all the rage. So this is like 2013, 14. So I had brought him over a whole bunch of clones, and he had a row that was this big and a row that was this big. And I said, buddy, I know I gave you all the genetics and I know what they are. I said, what gives? He said, well, the row that's this big is irrigated. The row that this big isn't. I said, well, that's counterintuitive. What do you mean? The row that's not irrigated is bigger. He said, yeah, well, I got lazy and I never put irrigation line in, and I've been feeding it out of the filter tank. I said, David, you got a product here. And he goes, well, I think I want to call it fish shit. Are you in? And that's when I went back to all of the folks that I had helped consult with. So that at that time, we were pretty much like direct application. There was a ton of residual NPK in there. There was fish food, potentially scales from dead fish. I mean, it was the rawest form of the product you could
Yeah,
imagine. So we kind of tweaked the product. In 16, I did my first show at Novi, Michigan. Remember, what was it? The Extreme What was the name of the
I
show?
remember. I remember. I was at that show,
Yeah.
by the way.
And
Yeah.
I rolled in,
What
right? And
was it called? What was it called again? Can you remember?
it was Extreme, or it was, damn it. It'll come to us on this call. I know it.
I mean, listen, I loved Michigan in those days, by the way. Just a
Oh,
shout out to Michigan. I mean, Michigan
oh.
was a hoot.
Oof. I had a lot of fun in Michigan.
Yeah,
I still have a lot of fun in Michigan. Um, God, it was in Novi, the car place. Remember it had all the NASCARs. It
yeah,
was dedicated to the auto industry.
yeah,
Damn it, we'll remember it. So
yeah,
anyway, I roll in, and at that time we were still 50 mLs to the gallon, right? I didn't really have too much experience on dosing. I knew what I used, and I didn't really think about shipping water or unconcentrated product.
yeah.
So here I am with I had like 8 cases of samples, stacked up. They were going in 25, 30 minutes. And I'm like, we got to go back to the drawing board. So I came back from Michigan, and we spent that whole entire year figuring out, from early 16 to like almost end of 17, August of 17. And we went back to all of the guys that I originally tested with. And I said, look, we got to take the water out of this project, but we also have to keep it viable. And when I concentrate it, I've got to figure out how to get rid of all. If I'm concentrating my microorganisms and bacteria, I'm concentrating everything else in there. So how do we get rid of that NPK? So that took a little bit. We had to go back again to the drawing board when I like to call it the shit missile incident, where I didn't realize now that I've concentrated everything, I've got to get a vented cap. So if you look on all the caps, it off gases while pulling whatever air is back, so it stays aerobic. It doesn't go anaerobic on me.
Yeah.
To keep the
I like the
oxygen
chip
in.
missile.
Oh, the shit missile. Listen, buddy. Listen, so you'd open the cap and it would go and it would put the most chunky, nasty, foul smelling shit that you can imagine right down your entire hand. And I
Yeah.
said to my partner Joe, he goes, T, that's not good. I said, well, that's really good stuff. I take it and put it, I use it as like clone dip. That's about as concentrated as you get. He goes, yeah, but imagine, you're in your house and all of a sudden your hand's covered in shit. So I said, all right, back to the drawing board. We go try and find a cap. So finding, if you look at the holes on those cap, that was a process, figuring like filter to cap to hole ratio. So I go into this, that cap
Yeah.
right there. Well, if the filter if the filter wasn't fine enough, or that Teflon insert with the holes were too big,
Yeah.
coupled with the hole on the top, when shop owners would shut their AC off over the weekend or shut down, a lot of these were like, smaller shops, the temperature would go up, microbial activity goes up, and lo and behold, I walk into a shop in Warwick, Rhode Island, and I'm looking at the drop ceiling, and there's this pattern of shit on the ceiling
Great. We
where it's off
lose
gas into the
customers.
ceiling.
Just
Yeah,
trying to
but
get started
it
here.
was low ceilings. It was low ceilings to begin with on the top shelf. We had pole position, buddy of mine, this kid Bodie, and I'm like, Bodie, there's shit on the ceiling, right? So we went through a couple iterations of this cap, and ultimately we ended up late 17. We come to market with the product that's on the shelf now, shelf stable, 2 years old, ability to breed, concentrated, and now what that is the product now. We made a few tweaks along the way, just with what we do along the way. Obviously, as we've grown as a company, we went from a greenhouse, we were in a greenhouse, to obviously our manufacturing facility is all automated indoors, everything. Let me tell you something. I've got some pictures that eventually this year we're doing a marketing piece. My very first power source was a 12-volt battery, brother.
You're
I'm
what?
dead serious. My very first power source for our air pumps was a big car battery that we rigged up because we didn't have power. We ended up having to have power brought. Yeah. We were very remedial back in the beginning through the testing phase, and ultimately we just kept putting back in, and on the other wall beside me is our state of the art. We've moved into a new facility last year. We ended up buying a brand new building, or a newer building, and retrofitting it and building out. Super cool. Touring is coming, so the next time you come into town, you and the Growing Exposed crew are definitely welcome to come see the shit factory.
I can't wait. I
You-
can't wait. I know we talked about it last year about coming out and doing a little tutorial, a little snippet on your product, and actually showing the fish tanks and everything else
Yep.
in manufacturing. So
Mhm.
that's to come. I'm excited for that.
We are as well, buddy.
I just want to jump back to the quality of life being a caregiver for one of your friends that had muscular dystrophy.
Mhm.
Most people that are in this space that just genuinely give a shit about this plant have gone through some form of aha, my God, I'm doing something that can genuinely help people's lives.
Yep.
And my mom had Parkinson's. My father had a severe stroke. From a personal standpoint, I know what it does for me in my life, but you can't deny that this plant has medical benefits. It
Absolutely
does
not.
help, especially as you get older.
Mhm.
Like, and the old people are the ones that I love to, really look at and go, hey, you were a non-believer all these years, and now you're looking for, it's claimed to be alternative medicine, but this is the first medicine. These are the plants that were here for us, right? This is an alternative. This is the original medicine.
Exactly.
And when you see someone on muscular dystrophy or see it genuinely change, it's not for everyone, But the moment you do it for someone else and this plant helps with quality of life, that's the best experience. And then you become a believer. Then you're like, I'm all in. I have to commit to this industry. I have to commit to, and to actually be doing something with your life that is exciting, fun, and this industry has given so much. And a lot of what we do on the show is just giving back good information and being excited about being involved in this plant. So
I could not agree more, buddy. And you had said something back a little while ago about an aha moment, and I got to say that, my buddy Kyle, that wasn't my aha moment. It was an aha moment for me, but that truly wasn't at that moment I knew it helped him, but beyond your physical helping your physical, one of my aha moments, because I feel like I've had a few along the way, was working with different veteran organizations and watching these guys take a seed and plant it, grow, nurture, and have their medicine at the end. And they put their heart and soul into this little plant. And they used to come into my shop and show me pictures, and they were so proud. And they had something to believe in. And it brought them back from the brink of whatever awful reality they were, coming back from one of the longest world wars that we know of in our day, and seeing how it actually helped to fix them. Not only did it give them a purpose, this plant gave them a purpose, but this plant gave them the medicine they needed that didn't come out of a bottle, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't manufactured. I think a lot of people don't realize, look, another thing for me, the whole opioid epidemic, right? You can use this plant for pain. Your body doesn't have your body has a cannabis receptor sites. You don't have opioid receptor sites for all of these chemicals that they're throwing at you to stop pain, right? I think
this
back
is an
then,
exit drug. This is not they always,
100%.
People say this is a, entrance drug or whatever.
Exactly.
It genuinely is. It helps people get off of opioid addiction. And
the common knowledge or what they preach to us, just like the food pyramid, just like everything else, what they wanted us to believe was exactly opposite. Look at all remember the posters from back, like we were Reefer Madness, right? Like, just think about how insane some of that marketing propaganda was, and it shaped a whole generation to think that, oh, I'm better off to go drink a half a bottle of bourbon than smoke a joint, right? Like, and it's the older people that, like, to your point, that we've won over, and you look at their perspective on it now, when they feel like their aha moment was when a loved one got off of opioids, or they tried marijuana for the first time and realized that it was not this vicious monster that the government portrayed it as, right? So I think generationally, I think we're over that hump, and now I think that it's only going to get better and better for people to get cleaner meds. And look, let's face it too, from a recreational standpoint, I think it's much better for you than going out and drinking a half a bottle of booze, right?
No kidding.
I think everybody can agree on that. It's not even. Like, what do they say? You get five guys together and you give them a bottle of bourbon, they start a bar fight. You get five guys together, you give them five joints, they want to start a band, right?
Exactly. It's hilarious.
So
it's true though. Hey, honestly, it kind of segues into the way the world is right now.
100%.
Right? Like
100%.
We have governments that are telling us certain things, and it shocks me on how many people are like, "Hey, you're right. Fuck Canada." Like
that,
or
divide and conquer, Justin.
Or
you know
fuck
that.
the US. Like,
right.
Get serious.
Listen,
we are way more alike. We are way more alike than we are different. Right?
But listen, we are the us, right?
Yeah.
We are the us, right? This whole us that
it's not us versus them.
Together,
we are the
right?
us. I agree.
From one business to another business owner across the border, it's the bullshit that they're spoon feeding us now. Get above it. Obviously, there's going to be some eggs broken to make an omelet. Like, we are better together than we are apart. Absolutely. And I know that you and I have had that conversation. And just don't listen. Listen, 90% of it is bullshit, right? They just want to divide and conquer, because that's what government's good at. As a business owner, I want everybody to make money, use my product, love my product, use your products, love your products, and work together for a common goal. So I keep my head above the fray. My head's down.
No kidding. But I mean, if it really was that easy and people were that susceptible to, propaganda. That's where the reefer madness came in, because it came down to racism.
Same thing.
Exactly. People need to say, hold on, we're being bullshitted here.
Pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes. Let's really look at this from a outside view and go, oh, okay, this could be bullshit. Yeah. It brings me to my next point. You had mentioned veterans.
Yes.
Next week, a really good buddy of mine, Glenn. We're doing, Sarah, correct? We're doing Glenn. I'm going to be on at a garden called Green Horizons in Palm Springs. And we're going to have Glenn from 61 Charlie, a medical brand for veterans by veterans. And we're going to get to hear all about that. So once again, you've dealt with veterans. You've seen how this plant helps with PTSD and all their ailments.
Oh,
and it's going to be a real heartwarming story from a veteran that came to cannabis. And, I can't say enough about it. It's warm, fuzzy feeling behind the plants. We're going to have Glenn next week.
We need to see more. Like, now that it's coming to the mainstream, I think we're going to see these stories start to come out. Like, I hate to say it, like the document, like we'll start to see, now that we're out of the shadows, just how much it truly does help, right? And exposing some of the propaganda and BS that was spoon fed to us by our government for so many years. And look, the bottom line is they didn't want it mainstream because it works, and it's cheap, and it's simple,
and you can make it yourself. You can easily grow it yourself.
That's it.
And then, oh, by the way,
control.
You save 98% of your money by growing it yourself instead of buying it and being taxed on it. Yep. Or you can maybe grow some of your own food too. This works for everything. Yep. So, and genuinely growing healthier food that's living and eating it right away before it goes to the supermarket and just is half the nutritional values of what that plant is supposed to be. It's huge.
What's the shelf life?
2 years. If you bought 2 years, you probably bought too much. But we do genetic testing and viability out to 2 years. So yeah, you've got a fantastic shelf life on it, and that's even after you open it, right? So that's not just sitting there. Once you open it, say 2 years from the date of purchase. But yeah, again, I wouldn't buy that much of any product for that matter.
What's the temperature it should be stored at? Will it freeze and kill off microbes?
No, it won't. So I tell people if it freezes, make sure you thaw it out before you use it. No joke. The microbial activity is going to slow down, but there's enough in that bottle to keep it alive. The flip side of that, any normal temperature. Like a lot of guys we deal with here in the States, they'll store it outside in their barns and stuff, and you can get up to 120 degrees, I would say, is the top. So just keep it at a normal temperature, right? Don't try to stay, south of 100 and don't let it freeze.
Last question for Mike. How many ppms does the microbiology die off having too much phosphorus in? So a higher ppm food, what's the maximum ppm you recommend in the food?
I know folks with some of these newer powder lines that are up in the, plus 3,000. You got to understand something too, Mike. We do a lot of stock tank down here, like what we run in cannabis versus what the guys are running. Like you're going 3200. There's some heavy dosing in row and specialty crop that is just not on par with cannabis. So there's nothing that you're going to run with any conventional nutrient lines or even home concoctions that's going to put these guys to sleep. So have no fear. Pump your ppms.
Okay, good to know. Yeah.
How often do you feed with it in soil? Every time it's watered, or still give a water break?
One more time, Sarah?
Feed the product.
So, all right, that great question, right? So, I think that it's not a one size fits all approach. We'd like to see it in there at least once a week. So it's very important that you get it on anytime you're planting seeds or you're transplanting, right? You can go a little bit of heavier dose. If you guys want, there's a link to my website that speaks to what we call the rhizophasic cycle. That means the bacteria is getting on the root zone. The roots will actually pull the bacteria through, rip off their outer shell, reprogram it for whatever it needs, and then shoot it out on root hairs, going out and getting what it wants. So that said, early, as close to planting as possible. And then I say, some guys that are only giving it liquid or nutrients once a week, go a heavier dose, go that 6 mLs. But if you're feeding every day, you can cut it back to that 3 ml dose. You can even go a little bit lighter. You don't have to go crazy. So that's I like to tell people that's a rough guideline. That 3 to 6 mLs on the bottle is a rough guideline. Your garden, you'll see the response. But if you're feeding every day, cut it back. There's no sense in wasting it. But if you're only going once a week, throw it in once a week. You can't overdo it, right?
Yeah. What about irrigation and like an aeroponic system,
Oh
emitters
yeah,
and
you're
sprayers?
that's we're born in that kind of system, right? So that's how we manufacture in a system similar to that. So anytime you're introducing it into a highly oxygenated environment, you're just giving us a recipe for success. That oxygen with your NPK in there is really you're gonna love us. It works tremendous
Do
in
you,
cloners.
do you run any risk of having carbohydrates and colonizing those microbes more and more and actually creating a biofilm at all?
What you're going to want to do is run it at a lower dose.
Okay.
Look, with any organic product, I'd be a liar if I told you don't run the risk of having some sort of biofilm. And anybody is running a beneficial microbe or anything that's organic like that, there is always an inherent risk based on whatever concoction you're putting in there that there will be interactions, right? We
Yeah.
are a very, very, very active product, and we do run the risk. So, I mean, I ran DWC for years.
Yeah.
Back before it was cool to run bacteria
Yeah.
or microbes in a DWC, and everything was hypochlorous acid, nuke
Sure.
it. And I was like, guys, this is counterintuitive. Why am I going to kill off great microbes that come from a system that this is what it's designed for? And did I get biofilm? Yeah. But did the terpene production and the oil production that I got in an all water or DWC environment? I mean, I had some pretty gnarly product
Uh,
back then, right? So,
I think it's important.
yeah, you may,
I think it's
yeah,
important to keep your carbs out. I mean, because it is a
yeah,
microbiology, and as long as the carbs are the food source. So if you
right.
want, I wouldn't run that through the irrigation together. Just get the carbs in the actual at the root zone, hand water or whatever, and then you
Yeah,
you, you save that. It basically supercharges as a food for these microorganisms. I
yeah,
think
you're gonna give it a hell of a supercharge, and we'll definitely. So if you're in like a brew tank or like a reservoir or something, definitely keep your carbs out. Hand water your carbs in. Like let
yeah.
the microbes do their thing. Yep.
How do you get the smells to be not so stinky?
You know what? That's part of the process, and really, what it boils down to is basically getting rid of. There's a lot of sulfates in the waste. Is just getting the sulfates out. There's no real magic bullet to it. We just over time and temperature, we brew out anything that like what you'd be smelling. So early on, a lot of you guys who have been with us since the beginning, I mean, the brewing process. We haven't changed the actual making, but what we did was we tweaked some things along the way. The product itself is from a microbial or genetic perspective is exactly the same. We just figured out how to remove all residual buildup better over the years. So same product, the fine tuning process is really what gets the smell out. But let me tell you something. For you guys that were with us early on, that was a pretty stinky product. It was good. You could stink up a convention center. We've done it.
Yes. Can you use with
Yeah.
molasses? Molasses is a carb source, so we said put the molasses at the root zone, not the same reservoir is a good recommendation, I think.
You know,
And
look, standing reservoir versus like so I'll mix like so I still obviously grow and test, right? So I use a carb source. I use different carb sources. If I'm making up my batches fresh, let it rip. If you're going to let it stand and aerate it, do them separately. And that's just with my microbe or anybody's, right? My competitors, whatever. You don't want to mix them because you're gonna enhance microbial activity. You will get that biofilm. So but if you're mixing it up and using it, let it rip fresh.
so typically, in most teas, I'll use a like fish hydrosolate,
Yeah.
and it can get really funky.
Yeah.
How does your product compare to like a fish hydrosolate in a tea where I'm trying to colonize those microbes?
Essentially, we've taken the tea brewing out for you, right? That's
Yeah.
one. So what you're looking to accomplish by brewing that tea, we're delivering you essentially a high-powered compost tea.
Okay.
Back to the hydrosolate thing, right? So that hydrosolate is going to be actual ground-up fish parts, and they'll hit it with like a phosphoric acid or a cold press, whatever, to get it to liquefy and be a usable form of NPK. So that's going to be your NPK. We're going
Yeah.
to go in. So if you're going to brew that in, brew your tea, add us in at the end, and then deliver it together. So don't brew us in there with you, because what you want to do is you want that to break down when it gets into the root zone. You don't want to start that breaking down, at least what we're going to break down, you know, during the brew process, because we're going to accelerate the breakdown of what you're looking to get into the plant. So we tell people, if you're going to put it with a tea, do it at the very last. So brew your tea for whatever duration you're going to do it, throw us in, give it to your plants.
Okay. Can I use fish shit with other micro products, or would that be a waste?
You know, look, I've always have been a firm believer of the more microbes, the merrier. Do I think there would be some overlap? Yeah. I look, if I would, let me give you a for example. Do I think that you need to be used with something like, I don't know, like a phosphorus mobilizing or one of the bacterias that have been lab designed? We're going to outcompete them. We're going to outcompete them, and we're going to, microbes go to war.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of testing here, and a lot of these, I like to call them Frankenbacteria, that are concocted, manipulated by CRISPR technology, yada, yada, yada. That's more on the ag side. But, the manipulation of these naturally occurring bacteria, where they now hand select and produce them in vats and factories, and they're gonna get out competed. If you take something like a bacillus, like, I don't know, like a recharge or one of these other ones, that's very inexpensive, it's a powder. We're gonna event that there will be a war, but there is a value there. So some of the more naturally occurring ones that are present in nature, yeah. Any of these ones that are concocted in the laboratory, I would stay away from, because you're just wasting your money. They're also not waterway safe, some of them, if they do. So I don't know. I would say stay to the basic ones that people have been using for a while. You can use them in conjunction together. I don't necessarily think you have to, because we have a lot of the same traits and characteristics of what we're looking to perform for the plant. So, but if it's part of your regimen, cut it back. Use some of those powdered bacilluses, and use them sparingly, but you can use them. There's still a valid use for them.
What I would probably recommend is alternate, because
Yeah. Yep.
once you put one in, you're trying to colonize that microbes. As that week goes by, the microbial content goes down. You could have another one come in, reapply the week after. See how that works for you. That honestly, that cultivating there's a little bit of a let's try and see.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
And, Justin, too, and I think you guys actually distribute this Extreme.
Yeah.
Everybody here, everybody in the industry knows Geo from Extreme, right?
Yeah.
Geo and I have been together
Great
for
people.
a long time. Great people. And I always tell people, look, understand what microbe you're using, right? Like, not all they're not all the same. So know what kind of microbe. Is it a fungus? Is it a bacteria? Another thing that this is a lot of companies, no other companies really have, is we also have beneficial nematodes, and then protozoa. So there's like this war that goes on, right? The bacteria will actually get eaten by the protozoa, and their waste now becomes a usable form. So there's other things that we have that other products don't, that are higher up on that microbial food chain, if you will, that are all contributing to that plant getting what it needs, breaking down, solubilizing minerals. So the bacteria eats the micronutrients, the protozoa eat the bacteria, right? So just all of that stuff becomes more available. That waste becomes more available in usable by the plant. So, but like take Extreme, their endo and ectomycorrhizae. That works as an incredible super highway for those bacteria to travel along. They set up that mycelial network, and it gets into the plant, and it gets, you get those endo and ectomycorrhizae. They go into the root, and then they come out, the ecto. And what is that? That is a super highway for that bacteria to travel, bring nutrients to and from the plant. So just do a little research on your microbes.
Totally. So typical cannabis, typical strictly NPK staying with synthetic salts. I find that the cannabis doesn't have soul. I know that's a funny thing to say, and it's been said time and time again, but this is what gives life to your soil. This is what feeds the plant. It takes and This is why a lot of times if I ever have a deficiency, I'm making a tea, I'm adding microbes, I'm creating an environment where I'm allowing for more nutrient uptake and the plant to kind of reset.
Yes.
And I've seen it time and time again. 24 hours after, I'll have a nutrient lockout or something will be wrong. Having microbes going to work has the effect of turning that plant around immediately. And I really, time and time again, have seen this. And that's where your product helps shine. So
Goes back
a
to
lot of
that
people,
can opener, right? We got look.
that's exactly it.
People don't realize we're giving the cannabis plant everything it needs. When I owned my shop, right over like nitrogen supplements and stuff like that, I had a sign that said, "Have you checked your pH?"
Yeah.
And there's a little off the beaten path, but you'll see where I'm going here. At my front door, have you checked your pH? Right next to my "Did you wash your hands" sign in the bathroom, did you check your pH? People would come running in and they'd say, I'm nitrogen deficient. I'm like, no, you haven't checked your pH. How do you know that? I'm like, well, because I may know a thing or two, but I know that what you bought last week has got everything you need, and you've locked something out some way,
Yeah.
somehow. Get a tea in there. Get my product in there. Break that down. Let the plant do what the plant needs to do with the microbes. Don't give it anything else. You've already got it. It's already in your soil. Just unlock it.
You're 100% right.
Yep.
Every single time, once a week at least, I'm checking runoff. I want to know my runoff for pH and runoff for EC. My runoff dictates what I'm putting in, and I'm alternating my pH according to my pH in runoff. 5.863, that's your zone, and you can change that pH to allow for more nutrients to be available. But it's super, super important.
Right.
If you're out of that zone, you're not going to be getting certain elements.
Or depending on how much or too little you have of a specific nutrient is going to play an effect on what you're locking out. So if you have
100%.
too much phosphorus, you may not be allowing nitrogen in. And now, so there's limiting factors. By having too much of one thing, you're limiting what the plant has the ability to take up. And a lot of that comes from just checking your pH. But back to your point, resetting with microbes has always been a big thing in my world, and what I suggest people do. Get back to the basics.
I totally agree. I love this question. It being a natural product, can you get COVID from it? I think that's pretty hilarious. But is there a concern of E. coli or salmonella?
No, great question, right? So
great,
for health
that's
candidates,
my favorite question so far, by the way.
Yeah,
I love COVID.
And no, but the three big ones: Shigella, E. coli, Salmonella. Those are all the ones that are bad actors that get humans sick.
Yeah.
So it comes from a fish. We don't have those naturally occurring in our system. We test for them because the governing bodies that we register with tell us we have to test for them. But it's not a thing, right? It would, they don't naturally occur in our system. We test because we have to. But to answer your question, there is no risk of getting any of the big three from our product. It's just not a thing. Yeah, good question. Yeah. As a student of the game, it would be disingenuous of me to tell you yes, because I don't know what your tea's doing. Not all tea and tea brewers are created equal. There may be one little thing in your tea that's going to get you to the next level. Is my product going to help take somebody who doesn't have a really dialed in environment to the next level? Yes. But when you get these upper level growers, right, who have a dialed in environment, there may be a component of my product and a component of your tea that are going to have a synergistic effect, and it's going to be a 1 + 1 = 3. And back to Justin's point, I would implore you to tinker and try it. Do some with, do some without. Answer the question for your own, because I think a lot of product manufacturers would go, yeah, absolutely, get rid of it. You don't need it. I'm a grower at heart. I don't want to tell you or take anything out of your toolbox that may be complementary to my product, right? Or just something that's just a key building block in your system. So my answer to you is test it. Try it. Try it without, and in conjunction, and see for yourself, right? I think that's the most genuine answer. Do I want to tell you now you don't need tea? Yeah, sure. It makes you I sell more of my product, but it's not the right answer. The right answer is it's up to you to figure out if there's a synergy there. And I think there probably will be. You find an even mix of both.
Does it alter my pH? That's a great question.
No, it doesn't. So it comes out pH and ppm neutral. It is a slurry. It does look dark. What you're seeing is actual bacteria, which are suspended in the solution of the water, but no pH and ppm neutral.
What are you feeding the tilapia so that they poop? Because obviously that's always concern about what's the actual ingredient going in and the ingredient going out.
So typically what we do is we reach out to the local hydroponic shops and we take their shoplifers and we grind them up and we
Nice.
throw them in the tanks. So
Nice.
shoplifters. But no, we actually
It's a
feed
tough
them
market out there.
yeah, a proprietary mix of organic fish food and then different goodies that tilapia. Tilapia will eat anything, right? So there's tilapia will eat anything. So over the years, we've figured out in the beginning what specific foods lend themselves better to different microbial production. We honed in on that profile, which FYI guys, if you ever want to check out the profile, that is not proprietary. You can go right to our website and you can play with this really fancy chronograph, they call it, and you can dig in and pull out. A lot of companies don't tell you what the secret sauce. We tell you what the sauce is. How we get there is that's the proprietary part of it. But it's all organic, registered, Omri foods and stuff like that. That is all natural. You'd be proud of what's in there. Nothing, no bad actors.
Can you flush with fish shit? Is it beneficial to flush with fish?
Yeah, good question. So look,
Good question.
so when you I love that question. So when we stumbled upon this years ago now, we had a guy, upper level grower here in New England, and he said, man, I just love this as a flushing agent. I said, well, tell me more about it, right? And he said, I up the dose. I go to 10 mLs per gallon to instead of the 6, and then instead of feeding it just water, I'm feeding it the fish shit. Okay, so now my wheels are thinking. I'm like, why didn't I ever think of this? You're only one of the inventors of the product. What are we looking to do when we flush? We're looking to get rid of any residual that's built up in there. We're trying to get the most out of the end of the life cycle of that plant with what we have. What does fish shit do? It goes in, and now that plant it's saying, hey, wait a second, this is still present in my soil. Break it down and make it available. By not choking out and throwing more nutrients during your flush, you use our product. Again, the plant, we're giving it that can opener that I keep going back to, and we're giving that plant the can opener to get what it needs at the tail end. So now you're getting, you're lowering your ppms, pH, whatever you're measuring, your ECO, and you're accomplishing it faster. You're lowering that EC in that pot and getting to that flush point or that point in flush quicker. So we added that later on, back probably like 19, we started testing with flush, and lo and behold, I think RX Green did a real cool white paper on flushing, dug into that, went and did some testing. We got in with some facilities around here, and lo and behold, look, it was very observational. Look, can we tell you we're lower in EC? Yeah. Can we tell you ppm's coming out is lower? Yes. The quality of the smoke at the end from the guys that, we put the test to, because how else do you do it? Is this better or is this better? And ultimately, hands down, everybody felt that the product that was flushed with fish shit was a cleaner, crispier, tastier product.
Well, that's the thing, right? Organics, like I said, it's the soul of. You can do synthetic. I mean, people have that fancy term, synganics.
It's a thing, though. It really is, right? I think
it is a thing. 100%. So you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the weight, you're getting the flavors, the terpenes, the aromas that an organic grower would get.
Yep.
And you're able. I mean, really depends on the medium. Certain mediums are more advantageous to grow in, creating more of an environment that you colonize those microbes. But overall, I personally love the idea of synthetics with an organic backbone. That's what this does.
It's funny, that we're talking about this because this is now so I don't travel nearly as much in the cannabis circuit as I used to because I spend most of my time in the Corn Belt. And what we're talking about now, this whole synganic approach, you've got these, they call them conventional farmers, right? They're all NPK.
Yeah.
They've destroyed the farmland in America.
Sure.
And there's this regenerative movement, and I think a large part, and it's happening fast, are going back to using organics. And so I'm explaining to folks that, look, you can have the best of both worlds. You can put down your synthetics, but please put down my product. And we're seeing it, and it's happening pretty fast. That American conventional farmers are going to this synganic approach, and it's music to my ears that cannabis is now giving back to the food production America, which is in a pretty shardy state, right? It's bad. Some of the food is dirty and gross. And the fact that we're actually starting to pay attention to what we're putting in our body and how we're growing our food, and that, that we're actually now going back to actual using beneficial bacteria to grow a happier, healthier, cleaner food is great. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. I love every minute. What I started in cannabis, I'm now getting to finish in food. And I wake up every day loving exactly what I do. Never did I think I'd be in a cornfield in the middle of Iowa, right? Coming from cannabis, but this is where I'm at now.
It's hilarious. I mean, who would have ever thought, right?
I would have
Romaine
never.
romaine is killing people because there's no testing on what's going in, and salmonella is a byproduct of it. And then you've got cannabis cultivators that are having to go through every single hoop and rigorous
Money.
testing.
Money.
Yeah,
It's a money grab. It's a money grab.
yeah, it is.
It's
It
a money
is.
grab.
Where this plant grows beautifully in any environment, and inputs are everything. So, is it beneficial as a foliar spray?
Yeah, so we've got some preliminary testing, observational, but right now this is a big season for us testing foliar wise in corn and soy. We have had people use this as a foliar spray from day one,
Yeah.
and they swear by it. We always felt that with the bacterial testing that a lot of the facilities that we had to go through, we didn't want to tell people spray it on your product and miss something. So we never encouraged it. Now what we're finding out is, if you know anything about the anatomy of plants, they have a stoma. The stoma opens up specifically in the presence of specific bacteria and allows those bacteria in from the top. So I encourage you to stay tuned, and maybe when we revisit this, next year, if you'll have me back, I can then give you some facts, university backed up testing to tell you about how effective we are, a yield response, tissue analysis, all the different things you would expect from a trial like that. We're looking to deliver this coming year. So please stay tuned. That is a very hot topic for us in row and specialty crop, and we're going to get the science behind it. But observationally, we know people are using it, and we've seen some good response with our eyes. Now we got to get the science behind it.
Is it safe around my pets? And
Oh,
can I
yeah,
reuse
absolutely.
the bottle to drink out of? I mean, I recommend using a glass, but let's ask the question.
Look, would I do it? No. Have I witnessed people drink 700? I witnessed people at a 420 party in Oklahoma. Funny story. Gentleman decides to drink a 250, which I'm not telling anybody to do. Do not drink it.
Someone
Not
drank.
tested for human. Hold
Someone.
on, I got a
Someone
great
drank this
story.
shit.
Listen, Cheyenne knows I actually introduced this company. I introduced this cultivation to Cheyenne, and they
Oh.
switched over to GP. The Blackburns, they owned Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Oklahoma before the crash.
Good
Jason
name.
drank a 250, then he drank a 500, and 3 years later, I gave the best man speech at this dude's wedding. True story.
Fucking animal,
Yeah.
still alive.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, his microbiome is off the fucking charts.
That he was the most regular he had been in 25 years. Now, again, do not drink this product.
Yeah.
It is not meant for human consumption,
Yeah.
but I've witnessed people do it.
Ugh.
So, yeah, Cheyenne knows those folks very well now.
A shout out to Cheyenne, our
Girl, we
sales
love
rep in
Cheyenne,
Oklahoma.
yeah.
Love Cheyenne.
Resident
Love
favorite here at Fishhead Farms is very good to us in Oklahoma. Kudos.
She's
You have
fun.
one of the hardest, best working, coolest sales reps. I don't know. Listen, I fashioned myself a road warrior, and that girl, I can't hold a candle to her.
Listen,
Damn, that girl's good.
we have, listen, I'm super fortunate. We got Randall in the States. We've got Mark, Isaac, Patrick. We've got some incredible people. Cheyenne,
Oh, wow.
these people, like, literally, they're on the road. They're there to help. And they're very, very committed to make sure that you have the best success. So,
And listen, Patrick and
love my team.
Isaac, kudos to your whole team. I'm sorry I didn't give it to everybody, but I can tell that the it comes from you. You put pride in your product. You put pride in your team, and it shows through in the character of who they are in the field, and just they're just great individuals. I consider them not just work colleagues, but friends. You guys have always rolled the red carpet out for me at every show.
Hey,
and every
I
event
want to
you've
give
ever
a
done.
special shout out to Haley. She's in the office, but she's doing sales all the time. I just want to fuck everybody up.
Your whole team,
Haley,
everybody I've ever met has been
they're fucking
fantastic.
gold.
Love you,
Yep.
Haley.
Listen,
Yeah,
you're only as good as your team, Justin, right? You
that's
know this.
true.
You're only as good as your team, right? Like
Absolutely.
all of this that we have here, it's not because of me. It's because of the cast of characters that I have kicking me in the ass every day. So
Ain't that the truth?
shout out to my team as well here. Great bunch of folks.
Yeah,
Fortunate.
I can't wait. I can't wait to meet everybody down there.
Likewise.
Will it cause buildup in hydroponics?
Define build up, right? You're going to get residual buildup in all of your lines in hydroponics. I tell you this, if you're a hydroponic grower, you know about this little thing called regular scheduled maintenance.
Yeah.
If you do that, then you will have no problems. If you are lazy, you will have problems. Change your oil in your car and it'll last you forever.
Yeah.
Don't change your oil and it'll break down. And that's what I tell people.
Yeah.
If you are a hydroponic grower, you need to be a little bit more diligent and on the ball with what you're doing with
Totally
your
agree.
lines, with your hoses. So just do the cleaning and it'll treat you very good.
Yeah. Clean your filters once a week. Flush your
Yes.
line.
Yes.
On and on. There's certain things, right? Preventive maintenance. You know, ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. No pun intended.
Yep. Before I let you go, Justin, there was a guy in the audience, Canadian Bacon Mike. Canadian Bacon Mike he's been a staunch supporter of Fish Hit for as long as I can remember now. So there he is. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. We're gonna go live with him next.
You are?
I like to jump on after this and just kind of shoot the shit for 5 minutes with him.
Oh yeah, Mike, good stuff.
Yeah. On that note, Tommy, I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom, telling us all about Fish Shit. I very much look forward to coming to Rhode Island and making a fucking awesome,
Couldn't agree.
wicked awesome event. Good work. Thanks for listening. And like I said before, honestly, we're doing this to give you the best information possible directly from the manufacturers and movers within the industry, people that don't normally have a voice. We're here to share stories and information on the products. And if you like what you've seen, listen, next week we're going to be doing a veteran from Canada at Green Horizons in Palm Springs, a massive grow. And we really want to make this something special that we're all really proud of. So please share what you're seeing and tell your group about it. And let's kick ass. Thanks for shooting the shit, Tommy. Appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. Great time, buddy.
Thanks
As
for
always.
watching, guys. Happy
Hey, Bill.
growing. Take care.